I finally watched Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And wow. Just wow. Hey guys, I'm Karl. Welcome to my movie film show. Feel free to subscribe down below if you would like to, but we're here today to talk about Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. What a hell of a title. Perhaps the most apt movie title of all time, because this movie certainly has everything, everywhere, all at once. Now, this movie came out earlier in 2022, and we're now approaching the end of 2022, so I'm doing my best to catch up on some of the movies I missed out on earlier in the year. And a lot of movie fans were talking about this movie throughout the year as one of the better movies, so I knew before the year ended, I needed to check it out, and that's exactly what we're doing right here. It's currently sitting at 95% critic score and an 89% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, and with scores like that, you gotta think the movie's gonna be pretty damn good. Although, as we've seen throughout this year, Rotten Tomatoes isn't the best judge of certain movies, at least the critic score. So I went into this movie with high expectations because everybody's been telling me this movie's great and I need to see it. And with a title like Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, I expected a lot of chaos, and I certainly got chaos. The movie is a sci-fi movie about an exhausted Chinese-American woman played by Michelle Yeoh who can't seem to finish her taxes. That's one of the official synopsises of the movie. It was directed by Huy Quan and Daniel Scheinert, who are collectively known as Daniels. Describing this story and what happens within this movie, it's hard to explain on the face of it. The movie has some amazing cinematography and amazing editing, some of the best editing I've seen in any movie in a long, long time. But the other thing that really caught my attention with this one is just how good the directors were, because to pull all of this together into a coherent story, this takes a special mind to put all this together, because there is so much happening. To gather all this together and it not be just a complete mess where they're trying to do too much all at once, which we've seen happen in many movies down the years, but to be able to tell a somewhat coherent story throughout this entire movie and keep the attention of your audience all the way through, because that's one thing within this movie. The pacing is fantastic. It got to a point where they do have a fake ending and there is false credits come up, and when that happened I said, no way, this movie's finished already. It's flown by. My attention was piqued all the way through. Every time my attention was even considering dropping off, something interesting happened. The movie had some great laughs throughout it. It had some great action within it. It had some great twists and turns in it. But it also had me scratching my head at times. It's one of those movies that when the final credits eventually roll, I was left there just sitting, saying to myself, what the hell did I just watch? It takes a moment just to process everything you've just seen and say, what, was that good? Or did I just do a load of drugs and go on some weird trip? I can only imagine what it's like watching this movie if you're stoned or on a bad trip. Because, wow, the movie is so insane in points. As I mentioned, it takes a special mind to put all this together because there's so much, I guess you would call, uniqueness to it, and they bring it all together pretty well. The movie has so much uniqueness in so many elements, and often in recent years we give out a lot about no originality in Hollywood. It's always reboots and remakes, and then a movie like this comes along and it's just very refreshing to get something completely different. Like I said with The Northman earlier in the year, I loved that movie because of how unique it was by comparison to everything else we were getting in Hollywood. This movie just had some insane moments, including one of the most insane and almost insanely brilliant scenes I've ever seen in any movie, just involving a couple of rocks. I don't know what it is about that scene. I just found myself laughing throughout it, that it was even attempted by a filmmaker to put that in a movie, and yet it kind of worked. It was kind of genius. And now I know how I'm going to make my next movie. I'm just going to get some rocks, get out in my back garden and get good at subtitles. Now, the whole movie wouldn't have lasted if it was just that, but as that one little scene, I haven't seen that in a movie before, at least not on that level, and that was very unique, very innovative, to say the least, if not insanely stupid, but it still works. And that's the thing with this movie. It's wild, it's crazy, it's insane in places, and for some reason it just works. It's funny, it's sad in places, it's got some phenomenal action, some phenomenal fight scenes. Michelle Yeoh is phenomenal in this. I probably say her name wrong, I apologize if I do, because I'm terrible with names, as you will know if you've been on this channel before. All of the actors do a fantastic job within this movie because they all have to jump from different versions of themselves into a different version of themselves. So one's case, they'll be timid and serious talking to their partner, and then all of a sudden they have to be an action hero or a villain or a rock in some cases. The actors had to do so much within this movie, and it was very well reined in from the directors. I'd be very surprised if the directors of this movie weren't nominated for Best Directors, although I haven't checked out the shortlist for the Academy Awards, so maybe they haven't been shortlisted. Who knows? Someone probably knows. If it was up to me, this would definitely be up for Best Editing, Best Directors. Michelle Yeoh definitely up for Best Actress, as well as all the other actors probably being up for Best Supporting Actors too. The movie involves a multiverse. The whole idea of people can jump from one version of themselves in a multiverse to another version in a different universe and get the skills of that person. It's a very basic way of explaining it, but you kind of get the gist if you haven't seen the movie. That in itself was really cool as well, because it's not something I've seen in other movies involving multiverses. Of course, MCU is the main place we see a multiverse right now. It's kind of messy over there with how they've done it, because, you know, Loki has had different versions of Loki. There's like Crocodile Loki, a young Loki, different actors playing Loki, but then Doctor Strange. All of the Doctor Stranges were played by Benedict Cumberbatch, and all of the Scarlet Witches were played by Elizabeth Olsen. So that in itself, kind of a head fuck. But the way they used the multiverse within this was very unique. The movie had a lot to enjoy about it, had a lot of craziness to it. Is it the best movie I watched this year? I don't think so, but I did really enjoy the movie. So ultimately, like always here on Karl's Movie Film Show, we get to a rating out of 10 for everything, everywhere, all at once. And for this movie, I would happily give it an 8 out of 10. A very solid, very enjoyable movie, which I'd highly recommend checking out on your next movie night. But I'd love to hear your opinions on everything, everywhere, all at once. Let me know all about it in the comment section below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you give it out of 10? Let me know all about it. And maybe you've already seen that movie. Maybe you're looking for a recommendation for a brand new movie, and I've got a recommendation for you right over here in this review over here. But if you've already seen that one, there's another one to watch over here. And with that being said, I'll catch you next time. Eventually. Sometime. Bye.